Welcome viewers to round 3 of the Tier 1 Championship Masters category here at Dynamic Nights Esports, and we're here at the Autodrome Mohanes Rodriguez, 285 meters above sea level. The thin air of the Autodrome Mohanes Rodriguez poses a unique challenge not to the drivers themselves, but also to the equipment as well. 17 corners makes up a lap of this circuit, and you're expecting some incredible speeds, 220 miles per hour. And overtaking on the circuit into hard braking zones of turn 1 and turn 4. Now let's go have a look at the drivers and the constructors championships after round 2 at Brazil. So this is the wrap-up of the Drivers' Championship after round 2 at Brazil. Amazing how extends his lead against GeForce Aaron after they had a close battle throughout the whole race at Mexico. GeForce Yanes gets his first points of the season, staying at P4, drawing with Wogboy, who got no points into round 2. People with a keen eye would have noticed that both Mercedes drivers have failed their COVID test, and Alex is the only reserve driver that have been able to fill in as a full-time replacement. Now off to the Constructors' Championship. As you can see, that Racing Point has extended the lead because of Amazing Al's back-to-back performances, taking P1. AlphaTauri, Williams and Renault are close in the Constructors' Championship, as all three teams have collected really consistent points throughout the 2 races so far. Going on to the Tier 1 multi for round 3 this evening, we have Amazing Al to get pole and to win the race for the 3rd time, paying $7. Wogboy to bounce back into the points, paying $4.50, and Macastu to flex the Renault power unit to get a top 3 in qualifying, which will be his top performance in qualifying yet, and Mercedes to get minus 30 points in the fantasy, paying $3.40. Now, because both drivers did fail the COVID test, we might have a hit already. Now, if all multis hit this evening, punters are going to expect 229 E-Bucks. Bet wisely, it's all for fun, and the house always wins. Now, off to our tame racing driver. Now, some say that he's a staff member at Codemasters, and that all of his hot laps are in fast forward. Either way, it's not the Stig, it's Stig's English cousin, the Falcons. So sit back and enjoy Dougie's hot lap of the Mexico Grand Prix.
And then this will set you up from the start of the right lap of Mexico through the 1 kilometer straight, 2.7 miles, 17 corners, and 36 laps in our case. For this race, you break at the 100 meter board. Into turn 1 you go, cut the corner, and then turn 2 and 3, cut it fine, come thick and fast, get a good exit to have a good traction. You actually lose quite a bit of time. Coming into turn 4, make sure you hit the apex. To 4 and then 5 comes you thick and fast, take a wide entry to open up the corner. Then you take another wide entry to open up this corner as well into 6. Take an exit, a good exit, good traction. You need for another wide entry into the S section. It comes thick and fast these corners, and then you have to keep it flat on the throttle as best you can. Take the narrow line to get the DRS early. Third DRS now into Ferrosol. Cut the apex, hit the apex quite nicely. Brake in, turn in, short shift to get good traction up the line, and then coming up to the final corner of Mansell, and we come across the line to do a 1:13.360.
Welcome everyone to the 3rd round of the Dynamic Nights Esports Tier 1 Masters category, as we are a few minutes into the qualifying, but as you saw by the rundown, we have lost our 2 Mercedes drivers, GeForce Crichton and Gaming Baguer. We have the Alex 96 is the only and SD Big Chich. So we have a reserve driver and a full-time driver. Alex, you might have seen him for the past 2 weeks. Also, the main feature was Australia, where he was originally at Renault, I believe, or Alfa Romeo, and then removed into a reserve, and then back as a full-time driver. So he's basically the Hulkenberg of Dynamic Nights Esports. Before we continue, thank you to Track Racer and CD Keys for continuously sponsoring us. And as you can see from our sponsor post that we made a few minutes ago, our drivers have got some cracking merch from them. XJ, who now has a full rig. But alongside me, as always, the man, the myth, the legend, the Smeg, has joined us. And we're going to have a cracker here, as we've all, as Amazing now, as always, just out the bat, just goes 13-5. And we've also got a wet race this evening. So it's going to be something interesting for sure.
Well, we've seemed to have had a wet race every time we come here to Mexico. It's happened in all other tiers, if I remember correctly, except for Blue. I don't.
Blue was nice and dry.
That's right.
Nice and dry.
Too. So that was the only tier where it hasn't rained here in Mexico. So going off the past couple of races, not many people like this racetrack. Now, or maybe they didn't like it in the first place and they just hate it even more, like me. Anyway, that's a whole other story. It's time for qualifying here at Mexico City. Now, it's a quite demanding racetrack, not going to lie. There are so many places here where you can invalidate. You've got the entire first sector, turns 1, 2, and 3. You've also got the high-speed S's in the second sector. As who just jumped up then? I know Mackenzie Stewart just did, but someone else also jumped up to the top. I can't. It must have been Big Chicks, I think. Anyway, there are so many places to invalidate here. For many drivers, it's quite difficult to set a lap time, as Wogboy perfectly demonstrates. In fact, this man, quite famously, back in the days of DRS, when we did the Mexican round here for the Green Championship, this man couldn't set a lap time to save his life during qualifying, and he had to start from dead last. And that race turned out to be quite a poor one for him. His only retirement in that entire season of DRS Green happened here in Mexico, after him not setting a single lap time. I think he went out like 4 or 5 times to try and set one, and he just couldn't do it.
He just
that difficult.
Yeah, he just couldn't get the rhythm in, and it was just Q1 as well. So all he had to do was really just set any time as ACW invalidates. Funny enough, in the last corner, hits the wall, and he pulls himself into the pits. I tell you what, we're not going to see this evening is people taking advantage of the off-track bit into Sector 3, as we famously saw last season. Obviously, the track extensions on this track in particular are quite harsh, or let alone back to normal. So they're not exposing this track to its limits. So people in the final sector are not going to gain 3/10 magically using all of the turf available, as well as turns 5 and 6. You can go off track a little bit there and use all of the curb. And now it's really basically Codemasters have decided to get the belt out. They've watched people taking advantage of these lines. Just stay between the white lines and you'll set a reasonably quick lap time, like Amazing Hour has already shown, as well as Giannis. You can set a 1:13.5 without doing what you had to do last season, but obviously the car is a lot more planted. So,
Indeed. As we've still got quite a few drivers yet to set a lap time with a bit over 10.5 minutes left in the session. I hope everyone can try to set a lap time. I don't want any people like doing what Wogboy effectively did, doing like 5 or 6 attempts and end up nowhere as Bodhod invalidates, steering me through the second sector. Like, it is harsh, there is no question about it, but at least it's consistent. Like, I've done time trial
it's
around
crazy
here, and
consistent.
I go around the corner and I think, oh my god, I did not have all 4 wheels over the white line. And I check the replay, because I'm that certain I didn't have all 4 wheels over
Yeah, I've done the
white line.
same.
And lo and behold, I did.
Yeah.
So, at the very least, it's consistent. It's harsh, but it's consistent.
Yeah.
So,
as GeForce Aaron just shows that. But he's on his out lap. But you can clearly see, like, this section of the track right here, all that green turf, they used to take the car right off to use to maintain momentum and their maximum top speed as they can into the next turn. But now they really have to pull the car up properly and bring it into the turn. So we'll stay on board with Aaron, because I have a feeling he's going to be up there in that top 3 like he has in the previous 2 rounds. Obviously, he was unfortunate to not take the P1 in the first race because of his time penalties. And Brazil, he was just consistently up there. He had good pace, but he just didn't have enough to get the top spot. But he's got a bit of traffic up ahead, so hopefully when he comes down to turns 4, 5, and 6, there'll be plenty of room for him.
Yeah, Chich in the Mercedes, he gets off to the side. It's well done. Heading up to turn 6, quite a critical corner. You have to get a good exit here to get as good a run as possible down this straightaway. Now into the beginning of the S's, go right and left into turn 9, then turn 10, turn 11. There's a car off to the side, then through turn 12. DRS open. That's a thing that's new. That's come from 2019 onto 2020. Is the 3rd DRS zone coming out of the S's. Now into my favourite part of the circuit. There is absolutely no sarcasm in that whatsoever. The stadium section, which is absolutely brilliant in every single way. Coming around the final corner, and he does a 1 minute 14.
I think the wound is still quite open for us, isn't it? through that stadium section. We don't really want to talk about it, as the stream caught it. And actually, for the first time, Diamond actually had commentary throughout the whole stream from both users, so that was nice to rewatch. And funny enough, it was the first multi that hit for the season. So kudos to all the drivers. All 4 of them hit for the first time. So that's the second time in history, and it's the first one for the season. So Diamond, hats off to you guys. Unfortunately, I didn't see any bets, so the house always wins.
Yes. But, granted to those Diamond boys that finally seem to have got through the technical problems and the teething process that goes through early season commentary. We had it in the first season. We got through that, and now.
Oh yeah, there's no such thing as a clean. There's no such thing as a clean stream when you're coming back nice and rusty when you've had a nice season long break. But
as El Tonki and Tal are talking to each other on track, clearly.
I believe J Banks had a bit of an update on his name. He's also joined the CPI racing group, I believe. Not sure what the whole thing stands for though.
No.
Not an absolute clue. Same with like LR, just don't have a ring to it yet.
LR is like Linus Racing, I think.
Okay, so Linus Racing. Okay.
I've noticed Amazing Hour, like he does the top 16 superstars for Gran Turismo, and I've noticed he's got a brand new livery for the manufacturer's car that he drives for Subaru, and he had this brand new livery, and it had Leonis, I think it's Leonis Racing, I think.
Okay.
Some sort of team or something like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. As Alex, he was getting a really good time, but unfortunately he just took all 4 wheels off the track leading up to the braking zone out of the 3rd DRS zone. Alex still getting used to that Mercedes. He's not a huge fan. He usually likes the color red, but doesn't seem to be a chink. No dents in Amazing Hours time so far. 0.3 is the difference. But a few cars are out to try and set another lap time before they go for the final one. Because they might have gone for the softer compound or balance, so they either have 4 runs on the softs or just 3. But at the same time, if it is wet, you want to send it.
So that's if it's wet all the way through. They probably would have chose softer. Wow, that's an invalidation for Ontra. How the hell do you invalidate?
As I've just got an update on the CPI Esports, they are a private sim racing establishment. Yeah, so they have a Twitter, but that's all. Thank you, Banana, for sharing it. Yeah, we don't have one. We don't have one. To be fair, we don't even have one. We have a website though, but we don't have a Twitter.
Well, in fact, on Twitter, it's just toxic.
Yeah, so they're an F1 2020 and a GT Sports team by the looks of it. But that's pretty interesting. I'd like to look into more about these.
The more you know.
The more you know, and definitely indeed.
I just think that rainbow and the star and everything. That was great. Right.
I'll quickly download and chuck it on stream for you.
At the moment, currently in P2, you're going to have to try and find 0.3 of a second. Actually, scratch that. It's more like 0.4 of a second to try and catch up to Amazing Hours time. 13.3 he has to try and beat through the S's. My word. If you're an inch out of line anywhere through there, it's an instant invalidation.
0.2, so he's nearly there. Hopefully he can gain some time through here. It's quite a tricky area to get the car nice and sideways. And he's got to keep the narrow line. He's got to use as much as he can. That is a whisker. That is an absolute whisker. 1:13.353.
Yep, half a tenth separating the top 2 at the moment with 3 minutes left. So it's a bit touch and go for Jonas to 7 out of lap time. Yeah, I don't think he's got enough. It's going to take him a minute and a bit to get himself around. They'll give him 2 minutes to get out. And bit touch and go there. Plebs finds himself in P4 at the moment. McLaren looking pretty good, not going to lie, with a 13.8. Going Banks finds himself in P3 with a 13.7. And then look at that jump up. 13.7 to a 13.3. So definitely got a top 2 at the moment. And Giannis is cutting everything to get back into the pits.
He really wants to set one more lap, doesn't he?
He's desperate as Mackenzie Stewart jumps up to third place rather. 2 thousandths in front of Banks with a 13.756, beating a 13.758. It is stupidly close between some of these guys. Let's see.
Still
if 2 drivers get to set flyer.
Yeah, he's Alex is on his final lap here. He does a big lock up into the final turn, but Mercedes, the first full-time driver to set a lap time, a 1:15.5.
Just 2 tenths off Finn Kelly, so not too bad. And it's not a bad thing to start towards the back. I think he's going to continue on.
Yeah, he is going to set it.
Lap.
Yeah, I don't blame him.
Fair enough. Why not?
Yeah.
Can only go up.
Yeah, exactly. It's not like you need to take care of these tyres afterwards. There's rain as well as, I mean, even if there wasn't, he's not inside that top 10 yet. But if he does, who knows? Might have to use some old tyres. But we might have to stay on board with maybe Macastu. Seems to be starting his lap.
He's on it, is he?
And into the pits.
Yeah, he was on an in lap, so already set.
He's already set his time
a little while ago. So, as I think J Banks has started a flyer, and I think Amazing Hour is just about to begin his. Who else? Plebs is a fair way around the circuit, still on an outlier. Yeah, I think maybe the guy to watch at the moment is Mr. Banks as he heads into turn 4, then into turn 5, second gear, shifting up to third, then fourth, then back down to second for turn 6. It's a very nice exit, puts the power down nice and early, up into 7th gear, down to 5th gear for the beginning of the S's. Goes left, then right, then back left again. Here we go, and he keeps it flat as well. My word, I wish I could do that. Every time I go flat through that final part of the S's, the back end just steps out. The car doesn't have it. These guys are good enough to keep it flat pretty much all the way through there. Through the stadium, into the final 2 corners of the circuit, around turn 17, the final corner. It's a 1 minute 13.619. Puts in P3 for now.
For now, exactly.
Has been validated, so his session is done and dusted.
But it's a very strong time. So let's see what Plebs are doing. This is the highest he's qualified so far this season. Hopefully he maintains his pace because it looks like it's going to be an improvement here, Smeg.
At the moment, it's looking good. The car looks pretty steady as well. It's right on board, coming through the high-speed S's. Uses 6th gear, not 5th. Interesting. Then 7th. Look at that. Look at the throttle. Full throttle all the way through. My word. DRS open again. And heading up into the awesome stadium section of awesomeness, and he invalidates.
But let's see. He's got a... No, I would have liked to have seen that time because it seemed like it might have been a few tenths off. But Wogboy, he actually has set a time from his famous green session, he was cutting through the field and then unfortunately got caught up with a reversing car at the second DRS straight, I believe. But
yeah,
Wogboy is showing some real promise removing line. More than what people sleep on him.
Oh my word, he had to lift through those S's. Now, he's gained 2/10 of a second, so he's aiming for that top 3 placing. There's a yellow flag. There's some debris on the exit of that corner as well. As Chich finds himself inside the top 10. Excellent driving from the reserve. Now, coming through the final corner, he hugs the inside. It's a 13.7. So he puts himself on the second row. Just missing out on P3 by a 10th and a bit. I think there's one driver left to set a flying lap, and that's Wafer, but he's gone into the pits. He will retire from the session, hopefully, soon. There we go. LR Amazing Hour. Now, that's a Billy.
I caught that.
What are you doing?
Oh, Spilly. That's it's a safer way than clicking retire in the car. I'm telling you that right now.
I guess so. But
He's,
it's a bit different, not gonna lie.
It's gives
and
the
the fact
mechanics
that we
some work.
can still ride on board with this thing is kind of funny as well, as it bounces around.
He's so
The
lonely.
game having a hard time at the moment.
It's lucky they had the shield up. The crowd would have been slaughtered.
Oh well, they get a good look at a Williams Formula One car, I guess. There we go. That's the end of qualifying here in Mexico City. It's amazing hour on pole position. GeForce Giannis, half a tenth of a second. Both of these drivers invalidated their last laps as well. I flicked on board with Giannis, and he did indeed invalidate, I think, somewhere in the first or second sector. It's Jay Banks in third, Wogboy in fourth. He'll be happy with that. Mackenzie Stewart fifth, Ples in sixth. Very awesome to see. GeForce Dre in seventh, Aaron in eighth. A little bit further down than I think he would have liked, with Chich in ninth and GeForce Hazard rounding out the top 10. So, wet race apparently.
Wet race apparently, but while the cars get on the grid, we'll be right back.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they've gone for the inters. It is bucketing down, so maybe it's interweather till the end.
I mean, it does not look like intermediate conditions at all. There's water on the grass. There's puddles everywhere. This isn't intermediate. This is wet.
Let's see if they've got some wets on. No, everyone's gone for inters, surprisingly. So not one drivers has gone for even the wet. But
so predicted tire stop strategy has just come up. It's either inter or inter. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
thanks, Cody.
It was the same as the yellow race. The yellow was all inters the whole way through, and they were predicting the 2-stop or the 3-stop.
3-stop. Could you do a 1-stop on it? I think you can do just 1-stop.
Funny enough, I think 2 drivers from yellow did a 1-stop. And they got punctures at the end of the race.
Oh, okay. So it might actually be full-stop, as Spilly and Roscoe made contact during the formation lap, so they get teleported back to the grid. So they're going to have stone-cold tyres for the start of this race.
Is it new that they've actually greyed out their name saying DSQ'd? Is that new?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was.
No. They always did that.
Oh.
I think.
I've just never noticed it till now, really. I thought they were out of the session.
They grey out their names and add in DSQ if they get disqualified from the formation lap. I think. I could be wrong. I might have to look at previous streams just to be sure of that. Anywho, Amazing Hour will line these drivers back up onto the grid. They'll line up into their respective grid slots, and we'll get the 36 laps here at Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez underway.
That's how you say it.
Hopefully it won't stay wet. Hopefully it will dry up a little bit, because wet racing doesn't tend to give, very good racing in this game. As the final cars are now lining back up onto the grid. There's El Tonki. All right. Let's get this thing on the way, shall we? They're all back into their grid slots. It's not 5 red lights just yet. Wait for the revs to rise. The revs are building. And... oh, no. Oh, no.
I think I saw two
drivers
names.
have
Yeah.
jumped the start.
J
And
Banks
away
was
we
one
go
of them.
here in Mexico City. And J Banks does a Maldonado. Jumps the start, and he seems to have gained a couple of positions from it, it seems. Will he lead into turn 1? No, he won't. My word, there's a lot of spray. I can only see about the front 5 cars, and it's just water. My word. Side by side between the Alpha Tower and the Ferrari. Bits of contact. You kind of expect that. And Giannis gets a terrible run because of it. Mackenzie Stewart might take advantage of this. Down the inside. Into turn 4. Contact still, just a little bit. No, it's first lap stuff. Aaron up into 5th place. Excellent start from him. Oh my word, it's Wogboy. That he went quite deep into turn 6. Luckily, he didn't crash into anyone. And it seems that every driver has gotten through the first part of the lap relatively okay. But this is the spot where we have to look out for accidents. The high-speed S's. This part of the circuit is pretty tricky in the dry, let alone in the wet. It seems everyone has gotten through. Fantastic. So no one's crashed. We haven't had this, ginormous pile of carbon fiber that sort of build up at the exit of the S's. Everyone gets through. As Giannis already 3 seconds next to his name. As J Banks peels into the pit lane to serve a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. I think Tal will have to do the same thing. There he goes into the pits. These two will be stone dead last as soon as they come out.
Yeah, they'll be praying for a safety car to try and get that speed back up, because that is cost them basically the race as it stands. But first lap in, Amazing Hours put 3 seconds onto P2. Our best winner so far in grid placements is GeForce Todd, up 6 positions. But because of placements overall, I think it has to go to Aaron 4 places up on the first lap alone, with Wafer up 5 places. Obviously, the 2 biggest losers is J Banks down 16 positions, and DNE Tao down 5 positions because of their jump start, so they have to serve a drive-through. But overall, that's the start of the first lap. Going into the second lap, anything can really happen in these wet conditions. It'll either plateau and stay like this, or something spicy can occur and really lighten up the mood here at the comms box. Because at the moment, everyone's with around that 6 to 9 tenths, around a second. So they've already made a gap, and some drivers are already quite quick on the wet setup. I assume that they've made prior to this race, as I thought that was players gone quite deep. So, but overall, obviously, Amazing Hours just got to start punching out these times. But I think it's all going to come to, down to strategy. If people are going to just go for the one stop, or if they don't believe in their tyres so much and just absolutely send it, because you won't be using much ERS in the wet conditions. You'll be able to smash out a 2-stop, and you'll know that you will have the best tyres throughout the whole race. So it's a lot to think about coming into going through this Mexico race, but let's try and find some battles, because at the moment it seems to be a bit dull. Oh, we've got a bit of ACW down here.
I'll keep an eye elsewhere, and there's really not much happening at all.
Oh, even Alex has got to have a sniff here. No, he's half on the power there. He's just trying to find that grip. Most of the time, even on this game, staying off the racing line, you'd be actually finding some more grip. You just got to do a bit of a Max Verstappen and find where the grip is.
For sure.
Oh, Alex hits the back end of Roscoe, puts the car sideways. So now he's side by side with El Tonki, and then El Tonki has to yield and goes nice and wide. But then J Banks, who has to cut through the field again, is now right behind Alex. So I think the most dangerous drivers that might cause an incident is the ones that are trying to fight for redemption and just be a little bit impatient. But they're trying to find the dry patches that's already evolved, as Alex gets 3 seconds through the S's. But I think maybe J Banks is going to be the most entertaining The driver that's going to show us some entertainment throughout this whole race, just cutting through this field.
And Alex goes immensely wide coming into the stadium section. He'll be desperately looking for something, anything. He'll try and get a good exit, I feel, out of the final corner. Try and power past him down the straightaway. He's right behind the Mercedes. He wants to put the power down, but he just can't. Both drivers using overtake. J Banks using the slipstream. Alex goes somewhat defensive, trying to hold an inside line. They're going to be side by side heading into turn one. Who's braver on the brakes out of the two? Oh, they both drive very well, I must say. There's a great deal of respect between both of them. An excellent bit of driving from both of them, and Banks gets the position, so he's up into 17th place. And I agree, I think this will be the man to watch for the most part, seeing this guy climb his way through the field if he can, because these conditions are very, very treacherous. It's very easy to lose yourself, as El Tonki and Alex resumed. But as El Tonki went around the outside of Alex, I saw that in the background. It was a very nice move.
Yeah, I think these two are going to battle it out all race as well. So if anything doesn't happen at the top, we'll sure flick down to them. But we'll stay tuned on J Banks, who's 2 seconds behind the next car, but around 5 tenths is Plevs and G-Force Hazard, and there's a little bit of a train that's coming from Dre. So
at the moment, Dre in 7th, and there's Harry Lillis, G-Force Hazard in 8th, right behind him. My word, they're both copying each other. Massively sideways. Both drivers coming through the final turn. Great car control to try and hold it as well, trying to hold the slide and keep the power down. Luckily, neither of them go into the wall. And yeah, there's Plez right in behind. He's got a good view of this. And G-Force Todd, he's only 1.3 seconds behind. So he can capitalize if he doesn't make a mistake like that, as an almighty slide coming out of turn 3. He's got big shits right in behind him. So we've got these nice little clusters here and there. Just unfortunately, it's not at the top of the field. The top of the field is starting to spread out a little bit. You can see that from the times and from the mini-map as well. He's starting to spread out just a little bit each lap. Hopefully, the cars will clump back together again. We see some nice battles. But, oh, Hazard. Far out. That AlphaTauri is sideways at the moment. Oh, my word. Ben Kelly, 3 seconds, multiple warnings. These guys have to be careful with penalties. Oh, it's Harry explores the track limits coming into the stadium section. My word, excellent stuff at the moment. And not too far behind that, I think there's another cluster of cars with ACW, Roscoe Arm, and Jay Banks. So we've got some things going on at the moment, which is good to see.
Yeah,
and I think these times are starting to get a lot quicker. I'll just quickly check.
Yeah, because Amazing Hour has pulled another fastest lap out of the bag, so it's definitely into weather, and he is finding phenomenal grip as J Banks gets 3 seconds cutting through the field. But like you were saying, Dre getting that car, Hazard getting that car nice and sideways, as he does again. It's the factor of dirty air plus all this rain. He's not liking the S's, let alone trying to catch up with Dre. He's really putting the power down a little bit too early. More short shifting will help. But the looks of it, they're all basically around nearly that 1 second mark between each other. So if one of these drivers make a mistake, they'll have plenty of time to react, hopefully, unless the car just parks on the racing track. But you can't really phase Amazing Hour's performance so far. He's in his element right now. He'll most likely have no pens to his name, as he's had the previous 2 races. But look at him, he's not even on the racing line coming out to that final turn. He's finding his own grip. As we have Sector 2.
It's El Tonki.
El Tonki. So he just has a small moment. Doesn't seem to have any damage. But El Tonki's already got he's underfueled the car quite massively. Has anyone else done it? Bodhod's underfueled it. ACW has.
Giannis has.
Plevs.
Dr. Dre. And
oh,
Plevs,
wow.
yeah.
Who's that? Who had like 0 ERS? Dre. And then Hazard right behind him. Yeah, he is trying to push away.
So it seems that the cars behind have got good car speed underneath them. Dre is having to use everything that he's got to try and keep the cars behind. Fortunately for him, none of the cars behind have DRS because of the conditions, so they aren't able to power past on the straight. And even if Dre is losing time in, say, the second sector, you just can't make a pass through there. So
Nah, you really can't.
basically just have to survive the second sector, more
Yeah.
or less. That's his job at the moment.
Yeah.
To try and hold on to 7th, at least.
Yeah, exactly. These drivers only have 3 areas really to overtake, and that's the large braking zones at turn 1, at the end of the second DRS at turn 4, and then coming out of the S's here. These are your real only places to overtake, but because everyone has the availability of the overtake button, it's got to make it extremely difficult. You really just got to hope that drivers have an individual error, and you can capitalize on that.
Pretty much. It's about you setting up an overtake and trying to make the car in front make a mistake somewhere. Maybe just getting on the throttle too early, getting the back end to step out a little bit. For them to lose a little bit of momentum so then you can try and slingshot by. It's a bit of old-fashioned Formula One this is, where you don't just simply open up the rear wing and just slingshot past them on the straights. You have to seriously plan it out and try and force the driver in front of you to make a mistake. As Chich gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. We're only 8 laps into this. We're not even a quarter of the way through the race yet. And already drivers are accumulating 3-second time penalties. Now, at the moment, this mid-pack is incredibly bunched up. If that stays like it is for the rest of the race, if we have no safety cars. Oh, as Todd almost loses it. My word, how did he catch that? Oh, my word, now he's off the circuit. He's going to try and rejoin. Oh, in contact!
Oh no,
Toddy, you're going to be in trouble for that, I think.
that is a poor, as a yellow commentator would say, that was a bad redress right there.
No.
That was quite. He lost the back end coming out of turn 7, and he's gone off the circuit and then come back on to the racing line. Unfortunately, mirror is fogged up. Head check wasn't there. Rear view mirror not enabled. He just didn't see Finn Kelly, so that is compromised Finn Kelly's race right there, and I believe that will 100% be looked at afterwards, because that's, I wouldn't say it's a poor redress really. It was a bit rushed. I felt like he could have just waited and everyone would have been fine. He wouldn't have lost a huge amount of time doing so. But
well, exactly. The group was very much bunched up. By simply going to the end of the train, he wouldn't have lost much time at all. It was not a very good call to rejoin the circuit on the racing line when you're compromised and the other drivers are fine at race speed. So I think Toddy will know that as well.
Yeah.
I think he knows that he just had a bit of a brain fart and put his hand up.
And Finn Kelly had a phenomenal start. He was up into 11th place and he started 18th. So
18.
He's done that 2 weeks in a row now. He's started quite low on the grid, and then in the first opening laps, he's gone up 6 to 5 places as Toddy gets 3 seconds for corner cutting. But this group that Dre is the leader of, he is slowly fading away from Gaming Wafer. He was around 5 seconds, and it's now going to around that 7-second mark, as we just had 2 drivers back to back in 3 seconds. But I haven't seen any of the top 5 pull a 3-second yet. So
they have no real reason to push those fellas.
Exactly.
They don't need to push them. They're by themselves. They're more or less in a sort of self-preservation mode at the moment. They're just trying to, get through the laps. If it dries up, then they're waiting for the dry conditions to push. If not, they're just sort of waiting for someone to make a mistake and for them to pounce on it. These guys, though, who are bunched up, they're pushing hard, especially Dre. He's trying to break away from Hazard. You can see that there. He's on 22% ERS compared to Hazard.
Oh, I've seen a car get destroyed in the background. That's Toddy.
Yeah, he's crashed. There he is. He's out of the race. He's lost the back.
Finn Kelly's got to drive past. He's got to put his hand up and say, karma.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it
yeah,
seems to
Tulsa.
be just a yellow. We haven't seen a flicker of a safety car, as there will not be a safety car for a car in the middle of the circuit in a second DRS zone that's not enabled. His car is despawned, and we continue on. That would have definitely spiced up the race, having a safety car, having everyone gathered up once again. But I have a feeling, even if there was another safety car restart, it would slowly dissipate into what we have now, unless people just either have a really good start or more chaos at the back. But Banks up 7 positions from his thing, and Wogboy has decided to pit on lap 11, so I think he is opting for the 2-stop.
Yeah, so
He's made
lap 11,
it early. He's made it
lap
early.
24 or so, he'll pit again and go 12 laps to the end of the race.
Yeah.
So I think he's just undercutting a little bit to try and get some fresh tyres.
Hopefully he doesn't get put out into traffic. He's slotted in quite nicely. He's got 2 seconds to the next car, and there's a good second behind, but I have a feeling J Banks might reply in the next lap or so.
We'll have to wait and see. They're not separated by much, these two, and if Banks has got good pace, he'll definitely catch up. And these worn intermediates won't be too much slower than those fresh ones. So Wogboy desperately needs to try and get a move on, but he's got Bodhod in front of him as well. And I just saw Bodhod go through the opening complex in the first sector. And that car was a bit understeer. He went wide at a few places. Bodhod coming through the S's now. You can see there Wogboy is making a lot of time through here. He's gained a lot. You can see that Bodhod name getting bigger and bigger and closer through that second sector. The gap between them is a bit over half a second as well. None of the top 5 have pitted yet.
I have a feeling that they might do a 1-stop and they'll extend their first stint to around lap 16. I have that feeling.
Equals Hazard is going into the pits lap 12.
Wogboy down the inside. So yeah, lap 12 to 18 apparently is the optimal area for a pit stop for the 2-stop.
Okay.
Funny enough, 18, that's a bit extended.
18. Yeah, exactly. Well, if you can get to 18,
you can do a 1-stop.
You can do a 1-stop and get to the end. So
yeah.
But as you mentioned, in the yellow race, there were drivers who tried the 1-stop, and 2 of them who tried the 1-stop.
Yeah, two people had punctures as well going into the last lap, second to last, lap. But
the difference is that with no assists, it tends to be easier to conserve the tyre.
Yeah, there is a huge difference compared to traction control, and with these guys, they will have plenty of engine braking. They're not particularly fighting as much as maybe what yellow were doing. So these guys can possibly drag their tyres to a huge amount of time. If it was full wet conditions, possibly I would have maybe seen one driver be super ambitious and do a no-stop. Just because tyre wear with these guys is just, they can just have it forever. Roscoe penalties. But I'd like to see where Wogboy comes out since he's made the first stab at a stop. And then Hazard was the second car to go in. But really, Amazing Hour is just still pushing.
Oh, hello.
Yellow flag, sector 3.
Oh, he's on the track. Luckily, he was sort of in the middle of the track and everyone could get by. But Chich is in, so is Jay Banks. Banks in on lap 13 of 36. So it looks like he'll be doing a 2-stop as well, unless he's planning to stretch those tyres 23 laps, which I don't think they'll be able to do. Finn Kelly in the pits as well, also onto another set of intermediates. And a front wing change as well, so he's going to lose a bit of time in the pits. The way he goes, he'll rejoin in 18th place, I imagine, just in front of El Tonki. Yeah, Amazing Hour still pulling away out at front. Gap between the top 2 is 5.2 seconds. So Amazing Hour got a nice cushion to sort of relax and try and manage. Mackenzie Stewart, he's probably going to try and keep him honest. In fact, he's closed a little bit. The gap now, 5 seconds rather than 5.2. Still quite a comfortable gap. Regardless, it has closed up a little bit. it seems the field is starting to spread out now.
Yeah, there's a 13-second gap between 5th and 4th. And then a 7-second gap between those two drivers themselves.
So,
But
Wafer very much by himself. So lonely in the half. No one to talk to, no one to see for miles and miles and miles. Oh dear. But he wouldn't mind that one bit. Having absolutely clear track means he can fully concentrate on what he's doing and manage his race. Sector 2 yellows, that's the other half of El Tonki. He spun. He's got the thing in reverse.
he's
back up.
well off the track, so hopefully he doesn't get disqualified or get a 10-second penalty just for being there.
There we go.
Yeah, he's got plenty of
His
time
teammates
between the
coming
next
around
track.
soon.
You'd be right.
Oh, those tire temps are going to be all over the place, mate. Do be careful. Has he got damage? No, he doesn't.
No, he seems to just made a small mistake.
He made a small boo-boo.
As if you actually noticed, yeah, Macca Stew's actually knocked down 5/10. And Amazing Now was like
Yeah, there we go.
nearly
4.4
out of ERS. So maybe Amazing Now is conserving a little bit. Maybe he's trying to save the tires, but from his ERS deployment, he is pushing. Macca Stew's in his element right now. I feel this is very flashbacks to Australia round 1. Hopefully we don't see a safety car that ruins his race, because he showed good pace that day.
Being now is that it's intermediate conditions and not full wet.
Yeah, that was shocking.
Blinded by the spray, so hopefully we don't see that again.
But maybe the tyres are just dropping off for Amazing Hour. Maybe they are getting to that point where he might pit since he is losing time.
It would be nice to have an AWS tyre graphic that actually worked, that could tell us how much wear these guys have at the moment.
Because the drivers can see it. Why can't we be prompted to see the same thing? I understand that it might be an advantage towards the other drivers knowing their tyre wear, but just give us maybe 3 laps ago what their tyre wear was, and just give us a guess or something. As we've got a few yellow flags. Tonki he's just pulling off to the side. Good lad.
Yeah, just letting everyone through.
As he Amazing is down a second per lap now from his fastest.
29.2. That was a 29.5. So Amazing Hour has gained 3/10 on this lap. But yeah, look at that. The straight line speed, 310 kilometers an hour for Amazing Hour, 316 kilometers an hour for Mackenzie Stewart. Mackenzie is absolutely flying down the straights at the
Yeah, his hybrid setup's more straight line speed, where Amazing Now is more clinical around the second sector. Because that is a huge difference.
294. So there we go. So Mackenzie Stewart gaining 6 kilometers an hour down the main straight, and then 4 kilometers an hour in the second DRS zone heading towards turn 4. Now, we'll compare sector 2 time. Oh,
Tonki's retired in the pits. Yep. So hopefully that car doesn't do its little trip around the track.
Oh, it will. This is Codemasters we're talking about. It just will. So.
I feel like it's reasonably okay, but I know it does it sometimes.
I'm going to take sector 2
as I think I see his car actually going to leave.
34.5. So yeah, it seems that Amazing might have a little bit more aero on his car. He's gained 0.2 of a second on his rival through that middle sector on that lap. So these tyres are really starting to fall off. My word, they're about 1.5 seconds a lap slower than what they were.
But they are pushing to that lap 18, which was called by the graphic. Lap 12 to 18 is the optimal pit stop for a 2-stop though. But clearly, if they can get 18 laps on the first stint, they can clearly go to the end of the race and finish it off.
I didn't realise Giannis actually made a pit stop, but he has. He's behind Gaming Wafer. He's making a move on Gaming Wafer for 4th place. Now, he made a stop not too long ago, it seems.
One lap old tyre.
So, 16. So, he's going to try and push maybe 20 laps on these tyres. which might be a bit of a stretch. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah,
But
22
if you
laps
can-
was the puncture mark. Around 21 laps was the tire limit for yellow. But who knows what these guys can do? 18 laps is obviously safe. Around that 20, it really depends what you do during this first opening laps where you've got the most out of the tires if you're really thrashing them.
Yeah, Mac is sort of fluctuating himself with himself in Amazing Hour. They're sort of gaining, pulling away from each other all the time. Mac has just gained 2/10 in that middle sector, and he's in about a lap earlier than I thought, but he's in the pits. Lap 18 of 36 has begun. Aaron stays out. He's going to do another lap on those intermediate tyres. Let's see, where does Giannis come out in all this? Oh, sideways coming around the final corner is the Ferrari. Here comes Maka out of the pit lane. Giannis has gained a lot of time. He's right behind the Renault.
So the undercut's going to pay well. It's really going to pay usage to these guys.
So that's a 2-lap undercut that Giannis got on Maka. And he's now right in behind it. Half a second separating third and fourth. Some other drivers in. Wafer's in. GeForce Dre is in the pits as well. They're going to get off their intermediate tyres and hop onto another set. Try and go to the end of the race. Still kind of surprising to see there hasn't been a safety car as of yet. If there is one, they'll definitely shake everything up. Now, I believe both Amazing Hour and GeForce Aaron are going to make pit stops, so let's have a look. See, yeah, definitely Amazing Hour's going in. Pulls up for the pit lane entry.
So we'll follow Macca Stew, because Macca Stew went for the 1-lap undercut. So it all comes down to this, really, if the pack's got to stay nice and tight to the end like it was in Brazil. Because Giannis, with a 2-lap undercut, has knocked down the time, I believe, from 3 seconds or 4 seconds to really just 1. But it all comes down to this, as both drivers do pit. So Macca Stew is knocked down that time margin to, I believe, 2 seconds. So he's knocked down less. A lot less. He's really knocked that. He's knocked 4 seconds out of nowhere just because of an undercut.
But now, both Maka and Giannis are sort of in that potential puncture area towards the end of the race that they have to try and manage. Whereas Amazing Hour and Aaron, based off what we know, they seem to be pretty safe for the end of the race, so long as they manage their tyres well, of course. So I expect Aaron to make a few gains towards the end with that fresher set, particularly on Giannis, with Giannis being on 3-lap older tyres. He's going to be really struggling towards the end, towards that lap 33 onwards. It's going to be a struggle. Looking further back behind, a few things going on here and there. We got this nice bunch sort of developing. Roscoe Arm hasn't made a pit stop yet, amazingly. He's going another lap on those inters, showing what they can do, as long as you look after them, of course. But Hazard will be that much faster on these tyres. Coming through the high-speed intervals, you'll see
so
it
much
here.
quicker.
Ooh, there's a bit of a lag spike. That was a bit weird.
Yeah, 18 laps.
He's already used everything. Oh my word, Harry, calm down with the ERS. Now, got this nice train. Look at that train behind. So it's Roscoe, Hazard, Chich, Dre, Banks, Pledge, and Spilly. All of them in this nice long train of cars. I think Roscoe is bound to be going in. He is. Into the pits he goes. We'll drop down the order. Now, see, so
Giannis has dropped 2 seconds off Macca Stew, sorry. Because I'm just trying to watching the times develop with these top 4, because there was about a 4-second difference between these guys, and those numbers are starting to climb back up to what they were originally. Alex has retired in the pit lane.
Yeah, he has. He's had enough.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's just no incentive to stick around for some bonus points. As this tier is the only one in our repertoire that's using the traditional F1 point system. The other one is Bonus Points Central, where everyone gets a point for finishing. But it means these guys are here for business. They're not here to mess around. They really just want the top. They really want the best drivers to get points. And then if you're the best driver throughout the season, you'll be recognised for it, getting P1 and so forth. As Amazing Hour did set the fastest lap. I think that is a stray Mercedes who's decided to come out.
Yeah.
Might be dangerous.
Say hi to the AI version of Alex 96 and Z.
Oh, it's Finn Kelly has made a small mistake.
Look at this.
Is that G-Force? Dre about to hit it?
Oh,
no, I'm getting the wrong Ferrari. That was Giannis.
Is that Finn causing yellow flags? It is.
The car has now disappeared. I feel like if you don't click retire as soon as you, but just before you enter the pits, the car will not disappear. It's just one of those timing issues I think Codemasters just need to get. If you retire during this segment of the pit lane, just bring the car in. Or maybe he retired when they were servicing the car and they already sent it out. But it's an odd one.
Yeah, honestly, because despawn the frickin' thing, No, don't let it just drag itself out as Finn makes a mistake at the final corner. He'll get himself going again. Hopefully, there we go. This man was looking very good after a perfect start. Unfortunately, he got involved with a little incident with Toddy. And he's backed off to try and let the leaders through. Very sensible of him. There goes Amazing Hour, so already 22 laps in, he's been lapped. Very unfortunate, but he'll keep soldiering on. As my former teammate would do. He will continue to soldier on right to the end.
And that's what
you never know.
That's what people do in the Mamma Mia mobile. You just got to keep going, head down.
But yeah, with the points, I feel like with Diamond, there's a sort of like an initial sort of tier for no assists. Drivers sort of need an incentive to stay and to gather experience than to just give up and just go back to using assists again. So using a formula where every driver can score points can give you an incentive to stay and to learn. Whereas with these guys, they've already learned. They are exceptional at what they do.
As I just caught Finn Kelly do another one. Oh, he smashed the board. But exactly what you were saying. These guys have learned all the trades, and it's really just the best drivers come. I totally agree with the point system from tier 2 down to all the other ones that we have. It just makes the race entirely more enjoyable throughout. Like every battle matters. So even though you're having a battle for 15th, it's still a fun battle because you're still getting points. As he's still got the tyres nice and warm, he's going to reverse the car and hopefully not take the rear wheel off. He's just a little flick turn.
Your tyre temps are all out of whack. So you really need to just take it easy for at least a lap before you could start pushing again. Because as Wogboy barrels into the pits again, that'll be his final stop. He'll go to the end of the race from here. He's going to lose nothing, maybe. He might lose out to Gaming Wafer. Maybe. No, well, I don't think he will. Oh, no, he will.
Oh, yeah, comfortably. Yep.
He'll lose out to Wafer, but he won't lose out to anyone else.
Nah, that big conga line from Big Chich down won't grab him yet. It's about a 2-second difference, roughly 2.4. But as Hazard also pits as well, these guys have initiated. They're definitely going for a 2-stop. I think ACW will pit in the next lap or so. But the driver that had the drive-through penalty at the start of the race, but hasn't really bounced back, is DNE Tao. Just hasn't seemed to had the punch compared to J Banks. As I think, is that Finn Kelly once again?
How the fuck did you end up there, Finn? I'm not gonna lie. And he gets a 5 second for corner coming. Fuck, lol. Right on. Thanks, Cody's. Bloody useless, you.
He's got a bit of traffic coming as well, so hopefully his tyres are not too hot to try and get the car out of the way. Should be fine.
We'll get out of the way.
Keep soldiering on, lad.
Oh, God. Yeah, he's not enjoying this. Oh, just wait a minute. There you go. Oh, God.
This is a torture session for the lad. Definitely not one of his finest performances from the previous 2 races. He actually grabbed points in round 1 and 2. And they were both in the wet, obviously. We've had wet races only. Oh, okay.
Jesus.
That's... Wait, is his car alive? Finn Kelly.
Jesus, dude. Fucking hell. He lost the back end then.
I had a feeling he lost more than that. Dude,
I think
Jerry.
the car.
I think be smart and bring it into the pit.
Yeah, you've been caught on stream, man. Very smart. Thank fuck, it's just a virtual.
Well,
but still.
Yeah, it's still a pain because it can still initiate people getting drive-throughs. So unfortunately, there was only literally 1 corner left to bring into the pits, like the previous 4 drivers have done. But yeah, we're not really gonna butter it up. That I think you've got a quali ban for next week, man. I think that's straight up.
Jesus Christ! It's just there's a rule book that clearly states if you've had enough, you want to retire, just do it in the pit lane. Don't.
I have a feeling it's more than just a quali ban, my friend. Unfortunately, Finn, we might not see you for the next round. Yeah. We have this rule in place for a reason. Drivers will learn, and he will be using as an example for this season, and a lot of drivers will learn this as well. So the first offence for drivers will get a race ban and 3 penalty points to their name. They do it again, it's a season ban. And then the 3rd time you do it after that said season, you come to for season 2. You do get you just blacklisted, the goodbye kind of vibe. Yeah. Even if you don't cause a virtual or a safety car, you will be penalised with a qualifying ban plus 3 penalty points. So, I mean, we've got these rules for a reason. It's to keep the driving within just to keep the race flowing, you know. And we really don't want to give these things, but unfortunately, that was pretty close to a safety car.
And anyway,
yeah,
get that big brain move.
Big brain. And we'll go. Unfortunately, we've been saying before, he's in the Mamma Mia bill. He's got to keep it going, head down. Stay strong. Unfortunately,
you don't want to let the Mamma Mia guys down.
Mamma Mia. They're not going to be happy, man. They are not going to be happy.
No, it's not the Mamma Mia today. It's not. It's a sad Mamma Mia.
It's a sad pasta day.
It's sad pasta. Let's just bring out all the Italian stereotypes, shall we?
Yeah.
Dear me. But after all that, it seems amazing how it has pulled away from his rival. The gap has opened up to just over 4 seconds.
Yeah,
it's amazing how Nikita Stewart, 5 seconds back, is Aaron.
So Aaron's made the jump on Giannis again. Just missed that.
Giannis went into the pits again.
Oh, he has too. So he's gone for the 2-stop. So he doesn't trust
himself, really.
More or less.
He doesn't trust the fact that he.
But maybe, maybe he thought, I've only got, I can only lose 1 position doing it.
Pretty much. And
might
if
as
I get
well.
a puncture, then I potentially lose a lot more.
Exactly, you lose a lot more.
At least with these fresh tyres, he doesn't have to worry about management, as Aaron gets a 3-second time penalty. And that makes Giannis' job a hell of a lot easier. Now, if I start looking at this, let's see, Aaron, that's his first pen. What about Giannis? He's got 3 seconds, he's got 6 seconds next to his name.
Okay.
So if Aaron gets another 3 somehow, I don't think he will, but if he does, then Giannis and Aaron are on level ground. And Giannis has got an advantage on fresher tyres, and he doesn't have to worry about trying to get to the end. Whereas Aaron, he doesn't necessarily have to worry. He knows the tyres can make it, but he still has to manage quite a bit as Dre gets 3 seconds. So it's not completely out of the woods for Aaron just yet.
Yeah, it's still anyone's game really, because we've seen what a 2-lap undercut can do, but now it's really just, does he believe that Aaron's going to make it to the end? Like, because he did go in a bit early, but he needs to get close enough to even maybe force Aaron into a mistake to cause him to even have the buffer of 3 seconds, etc. So
Chich goes into the pits. For his final pit stop, he'll come out in front of Hazard. Maybe not.
taking the car nice and sideways.
There he goes. So Chich is going to come out in 12th, maybe 13th. Oh, righto. Banks makes a move for P11. Down the inside at 1. Banks on the recovery drive after getting a drive-through penalty for jumping the start. He's a mere 1 place away from getting inside the top 10 and scoring points, which is a nice recovery considering what happened. And it also hasn't been a safety car. This has been a genuine recovery.
Yeah.
Who knows how long back? Like 20 seconds back to where he is now. So it's a good drive from him to fight his way through the field in these tricky conditions as well. Absolutely excellent.
It would have just shown what pace he would have really had again, because like in Australia, he had qualifying pace, he just didn't get it valid. Now this time he's had it valid, but then he's just jumped the start. He slipped the catch a bit too much. As Big Chich is suffering a little bit under braking. He's just trying to get back those positions, but in doing so, he's outbraking himself a little bit.
Amazing. Pulling away a little bit more at the front. Gap is now 4.6 seconds between the top 2 at the moment. Mackenzie Stewart now gets a 3-second time penalty, and I think that might just be it for Macca. He's got 6 seconds next to his name. Amazing Hour hasn't got a penalty quite just yet. He's got 2 warnings though, so he's on the verge of one. But yeah, at the moment, Amazing Hour looks good for a 3rd race win in a row. But who knows? Anything can happen.
Yeah, exactly. At this stage, he's definitely done wonders for the multi, but unfortunately, we had Stewart just outside the 3, so we've obviously had a miss. And Wogboy is going to get some points, so that would have been a multi-hit. And Mercedes to get minus 30 points in fantasy. Alex DNF, I think that's 15 points, but obviously there might be a shuffle around. Maybe the Mercedes drivers just don't count this week. I don't know. It was a last-minute pull for these drivers in particular to replace. But there is got to be I'm going to tell you now, I have a feeling everyone that did the fantasy is going to do some big moves. And I feel like a driver in particular is going to be bought out. I think everyone's just going to pick him. I think it's going to be amazing. I think Racing Point, chuck him in as a team, or maybe even put in maybe Ferrari. Ferrari's done consistently well for team-wise. So maybe chuck them in for your team, restructure the total value of your players, because obviously now with the big season 1 champion of GeForce Crichton, who's no longer available, as well as the underdog who would have been his predecessor Gameberg not driving, these guys would have that's a lot of value that you can put back into your team, so you can do a full rework. You got 3 drivers you can switch, so play around with that. But I think the $1 bet is going to be put Amazing Hour in there. He's got him pole 3 times in a row. At this stage, he might get 3 wins in a row, and to his name, not 1 penalty. So he's been phenomenal so far. And I would also say Macca Stew, he had an unfortunate first round. Second round was a bit of a roller coaster, but the 3rd round he's gone back to being consistent like he was at the end of season 1 at 2019. But then again, you've got GeForce, Aaron and Giannis, being top 3, top 4 back-to-back rounds. So, I mean, restructure your team, chuck those 4 in there, and maybe some money for value, plebs and Spilly, I think that's enough. I think that's a fantasy. Oh, come on, man. What are we... Jinxed him. I had to
Welcome to
jinx
the
it.
commentary curse, Alcatraz.
Amazing. Now, I'm
Every
so
time the
sorry, but
open
now this gives an
mouth comes
opportunity to Macca. I'm so sorry.
out. And in credit to GeForce Aaron as well. He crossed the line first in Australia. It was only because of penalties, because of track extending, that ultimately sent him down to second place. So Aaron's clearly got a lot of speed underneath him. I think he would even say a fairly average qualifying session from him tonight. Qualifying P8, he's clearly shown he's got good car speed. He's made his way back up to third, gaining 5 positions as well. And after Brazil as well, he showed consistent pace. He was pretty much one of only a few drivers who managed to match the pace of Amazing Hour, just losing out little bits per lap to the Torrent top dog. So, yeah, definitely don't count out Aaron at all. He's got a lot of speed underneath him. He just needs a couple of things to go his way. At least here in Mexico, he definitely needed qualifying to go his way. But, he's made a lot of progress from where he started. He's on for another podium, which I think will be 3 on the trot for Aaron as well. 3 podiums,
Yeah, exactly.
3 races, 2 seconds, and a third. So consistency is awesome from Aaron at the moment.
Yeah, and
Definitely doing well.
And it needs to be consistent because at this stage, he's the only one at this stage that's going to be like basically chinking Amazing Hour's armor here, because if he keeps it consistent, keeps those podiums, it only takes one race, one slip up, and the whole championship's flipped. So it really just comes down to being consistent, because if he keeps getting podiums, he still stays in that graph, even though it's not the one, because he lost those 3 seconds in Australia, but he had a fantastic drive there. There's no doubt. But I think it's basically got to be a GeForce Aaron and an LR Amazing Hour battle throughout the season. There may be a wild card, who knows? But at this stage, round 3, you can't really overlook these two, especially even for fantasy. That Bodhod is doing, who is driving right now. So he's got a lot of work to do coming out after round 3, especially a lot of driver transfers that are going to be massive, especially with mine. You'll get an email after this race. It's coming. I've already pre-made it. and we're just happy to be here. Go team.
Just riding on board with the race leader. He was stupidly sideways through the S's. By God. He would have had his heart in his mouth there. He almost lost it. He almost completely lost it. Somehow he gathered it up. And he didn't lose too much time from it either. But far out, he was sideways.
Yeah, I think he needs to calm down a little bit. Maybe he's just getting a little bit anxious. It's nearly at the end of the race. They're doing a minute 30 times.
Very, very quickly right about now. So
yeah.
Top 3 drivers really have to try and be careful. They more or less have to tiptoe around the racetrack to try and not spin out. And Giannis will be putting the hammer down right now to try and catch up to Aaron. I'll just quickly double check penalties again between Aaron and Giannis. I'm pretty sure it's still 3 and 6. Yeah, 3 for Aaron and 6 for Giannis. So Giannis has a fair amount of work to do, but if Aaron makes a mistake, then the Ferrari can pound. So Aaron does need to be a bit careful. Looking elsewhere, there's a battle for 6 going on right now. Say hi to the Gaming Wafer, and if you look behind from Gaming Wafer's point of view, you just see this cluster of cars with Dre, Plebs, and Spilly all hunting down the Haas of the Gaming Wafer through the final corner. Oh my word, that's an awesome train of cars, all of them battling for position, and that's genuine as well. They all can go to the end, if I'm not mistaken. I think they can.
Yeah, they
all.
As they are switching right now, as Billy makes a move, going into the hard braking zone of turn 1. Same with Dre and Wafer. Gee, we finally have something here. It's been a bit spicy, and it's coming into it. As Giannis gets that 3 seconds exactly, so he's really just fighting for P4. But look at this, we have a little bit of a train. Are we going to see a double move at all from Spilly as Wafer goes around the outside, and he's going to probably go for a switchback, flick towards around the outside there. As Tao has retired in the pit lane. Unfortunately, his recovery drive from the incident of lap 1 where he did jump start he just didn't get to see the same improvement as Jay Banks. But look at this. People having a peek and going through the S's now.
Oh, this is going to be interesting. Now, Gaming Wafer, he's got similar age tyres to the guys around him. It just seems like he's struggling quite a bit. Dre's able to pull away about 1.2 seconds already on the Haas. Finn Kelly has left the session. I didn't think it was still in here, but apparently it was. Now Spelly is lining up the Haas very nicely. He is right up behind him. He can smell that gearbox oil very, very clearly. Coming through the final corner right now, trying desperately to get on the power as soon as possible. Overtake mode. Oh, that car's back end is absolutely everywhere. It's great to see the car control that these guys have. He's going to have to look the long way around his Spilly. Wafer defends the inside line, but he just doesn't quite have the straight line speed, it seems. Down the inside goes Wafer. It's going to be a desperate attempt. A bit of contact and he spins. Wafer spins right round there with Spilly. A little bit of contact. It wasn't a lot, but it was just enough.
Yeah.
And Wafer loses out 2 positions there. Drops down to 9th, with Jay Banks now able to hunt him down, only 4 seconds behind Wafer. So.
And Dre took advantage of that battle, pulling nearly 2 seconds away. But yeah, all it takes is a small bit of side production, and it's always going to flick the car around. It's just incredible how consistent that is. Funny enough, it's always happened and always will be.
Yeah, it's very sensitive too. It can be the heaviest touch in the world or the lightest touch, and it'll do exactly the same thing. It's very odd. I wouldn't think a Formula One car that has all this downforce can have such a little touch between a front wheel and a side pod, and the car to lose absolutely all grip just like instantaneously.
As Game Wafer pulls 3 seconds for his woes. But we're going nearly onto the final lap here, as Amazing Hours pulled 6 seconds away. So even if he gets another penalty, he might be in a good, nice, safe spot here. But he's about to lap his teammate here, Roscoe Arm, just a few seconds ahead. But you got to give it to him. It's been a phenomenal performance. So, as I was about to give him another curse, touching wood.
Just be careful of what you say next.
We'll go to Bodhod as Bodhod comes.
I can shuffle the curse onto the McLaren, really.
Because it's just a thing. It's McLaren. They always gotta have it.
Shuffle it onto the McLaren. Say, no, leave the McLaren team
No,
alone.
no, but the McLarens, it's just normal. It's just normal that they just randomly have a puncture. Just normal. It just happens to be the McLaren. But yeah.
But granted to Amazing Hour, he's commanded this race very nicely. He's held a steady gap to Maka behind him. He's just looked somewhat untouchable here in Mexico with the wet weather. It is difficult to try and mount a comeback in the wet weather. Once the field starts to spread out, it doesn't really compress again, unless there's a safety car, of course.
Which there was two attempts. Which were technically there was 2 attempts for, but I digress. We're nearly there. It's been a long one.
Amazing. He's heading up to the stadium section, which is the most brilliant bit of racetrack ever. For the final time, we're going to see the confetti shoot up into the sky. Very nice.
Into the wet confetti air.
Wet confetti.
That's going to stick onto the tires.
I hate to be the people who have to clean that up.
Yeah. Get the sweepers out.
But Amazing Hour rounds the final corner, and he comes across the line to win here in Mexico City. It's going to be... Oh, no! Mac has made a mistake. He is spun at the final corner. Hello, G-Force Aaron. He's going to go into P2. Unbelievable. In low fuel mode, no less. Aaron ran out of fuel. Unbelievable scenes. Maka blows it at the final corner. He slots into P3 as Giannis enters the pits. That's a funny way to finish a race. Worldboy will finish in P5. An excellent drive from him in the Alfa Romeo. How many positions? He just lost a position. A good bit of qualifying and a solid amount of points for Worldboy here in Mexico. G4 Stray will come home in 6th place, it seems. Well, of course, penalties will come into this. There's a nice cluster of cars here. Whoever has the least amount of penalties will ultimately come out on top, but it's Dre who will cross the line first. Will he hold on to 6th place? No, he won't. Plebs will take it in the McLaren. Wowee.
I'm just shocked. I'm out of words.
Macca will be
Macca.
kicking himself.
It's funny because Macca uses us as like this combo of dreams when it comes to the wet, and it was going to be like the old fashioned amazing hour Macca top 2.
Well, they did it in Monaco, didn't they?
They did that at Monaco. Yeah, Spilly gets driver of the day, but I believe to me driver of the day has to go to Jay Banks because of his mistake, and then he comes back with that recovery. It's just phenomenal. But like I was saying, all it takes is one mistake, spanner in the works.
Smile on the Kiwi that has a Renault outfit. Yeah, that's not a real smile.
That is
furious with himself right now.
I think he's got to be drinking that more than spraying it.
That smile on the Red Bull driver, though, it's supposed to be a lot bigger than that because he'd be absolutely cheering from that. In low fuel mode as well, he was completely out of fuel, I think. He had the red flashing icon, and he was going very, very slowly. So I think he ran out of fuel. But somehow, because of Macca's mistake, he takes P2. Wow, what's an end to a race. Amazing how it takes victory by, how many seconds is that? 15.3, a massive margin in the end. GeForce Aaron in P2. He's third P2 in a row. Macca comes home in third. Giannis in fourth. 1 point fifth. Plebs comes back to finish in 6th place with no pens as well. Well done to you, sir. G4 Stray in 7th, Spilly in 8th, Gaming Wafer in 9th, and J Banks rounding out the top 10. Wow.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we cool down ourselves and we'll try and get these drivers in for some post-race interviews very shortly. We'll be back soon. And we are live. Welcome everyone to the post-race interviews. We have our race winner, Ella Amazing Hour, and at the moment we have GeForce Aaron as well, who got P2 at the edge, just from an individual error that Macastu, who has not yet joined us, but hopefully Sky News can let him in quite shortly. But Smeg, I'll let you take over for post-race interviews. I hope you've got plenty of questions, like always, to ask these fantastic drivers.
Well, all right. We'll start off with the race winner then. Amazing Hour, this is your third win on the trot in this series. An excellent bit of driving from you here in Mexico. Just take us through your race and your qualifying as well here in Mexico City.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Qualifying was basically went the way I wanted it. I got a nice solid banker on the board. Went a little bit quicker, I think, on my second run, and on my final run, I actually invalidated. And then I think I don't know what happened actually on right at the end of the session. I think I invalidated in the S section, and I wasn't going to improve anyway, but it was just enough to hang on for pole. I think Giannis got within like half a tenth or something, so that was pretty close. But no, qualifying in a whole was pretty good. Got done exactly what I wanted. I wanted to be, at the front of the grid. Race start, I kind of had a pretty similar thought process. If I couldn't hang on to the lead, I at least wanted to be in second. And obviously the main aim was to try and be in the lead, just to not have to deal with that spray, just so you got clear track, you can see where you're going, well, to the best of your abilities anyway. And just try and hit all your marks, which I was able to do, build up around a 4-5 second gap, I think it was, to Macro at some stage. And just held it there for a little while. He'd bring it back in on one lap, and then I'd just be able to bring it back out. So I felt like we were pretty evenly matched, to be honest. Then the midpoint of the race is where things got very interesting. Obviously, a couple of drivers tried a two-stop, which obviously didn't work. Both myself and Mac are obviously committing to the one-stop. Tyres were absolutely shot at the end. I think from what Mac has been saying, he's like 82% at one stage, and I had 81% on the left rear as I actually come in. So, bit sketchy on that final lap before the pit stops, but made it in and got a pretty nice turnaround and just got back out of Mackenzie. I think the undercut, he got like 3 seconds or something on me, so he almost got me, but and when I come out, I had new rubber underneath me. I had a bit of fuel, bit of ARS to play with. I knew I could set about just trying to reopen that gap to where it was. And that's what I was able to do. And after that, it was just a case of making sure you didn't make any mistakes, try and minimise getting warnings, obviously, as penalties are a big factor around here. I mean, I think anyone knows that. But, in general, just super happy with how that race went. Happy with 3 in a row now, but obviously, you can't get complacent during a part or a time in the season like this. I mean, it's been a great start, but still a hell of a long way to go. So, still got to keep the head down, keep chipping away at it, and obviously got a lot of strong competition behind me. Obviously, Macca really showed his class in tonight's race. I'd definitely throw driver of the day his way, to be honest, for a man who says he absolutely hates Mexico. That was a solid drive. So congratulations to him. Should have been P2, honestly, but I think somebody screwed him up at the final corner and he's dropped it for one reason or another. So I don't know, but I wouldn't necessarily say he's actually super pissed. He's more deflated. So like I said, congratulations to him, like on a great drive. But I feel for the guy, to be brutally honest with you. I mean, he deserved that P2. That was a faultless race. When I got out to about 5 seconds, I really couldn't get away any further. Like I was up in reach, overtake, and I
Yeah.
couldn't build the gap anymore, so he was still holding me like around that 4 or 5 second window. So he had genuine pace tonight and definitely deserved that second place. But that's the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. I'm sure he'll still be happy with the podium, but yeah, definitely should have been P2. But anyway, like I said, happy as a whole with how this night's gone. GG to Aaron, P2, right place, right time, definitely. But yeah, just GG to Aaron, same to Macca, and yeah, look forward to next round, wherever that is.
Zandvoort.
Oh God, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So we better get keen for that one then. But no, thank you, Amazing Hour, for joining us once again. Congratulations on your third win in the championship season. Congratulations on your very fine drive here in Mexico.
Thank you.
We'll move on to P2, shall we? GeForce Aaron, mate, very well done on the P2. I would say an average qualifying session, was it for you? It definitely seemed like that, like with P8. And then in the race, you recovered up to third. And then because of Macca's mistake, you came up to second. Just take us through your race as a whole, qualifying and the race.
Yeah, it was qualifying was probably very below par. I was on a last lap, a good last lap, and I was probably going to get up to at least 7th, I think. But Finn Kelly's retired car blocked me, and I just ran into it.
Oh,
So yeah, that kind of ruined my opportunity to like jump up the grid just a tiny bit more. Would have been at the very best 4th, but definitely 6th or 7th was on the cards. And then
okay.
Nothing really happened in the race. I just got a good start, and yeah, I kind of just evaluated my situation at about lap 11, lap 12 to say, oh, am I going to go one stop or two stop? And I decided, I'm just going to I'm going to do a one stop instead of the two, which is what the game suggested. And Giannis did a two stop, and I did one stop, kept it clean, and yeah, I was pretty lucky at the end to get a spot off Macca to jump up into P2.
Now, did you run out of fuel at the end? I'm sure you did.
Yes,
I thought you did.
Yeah, at the start, I literally put it down to max, like put it down to the lowest possible, because I thought it'd be fine. I'd save a lot of fuel, and then I realized halfway through the race, I was like, I'm not saving any fuel. I'm saving like at 0.05 at most every lap. So then I had to in that last stint, I was only using standard on the straights and then lean everywhere else.
Yes.
And then I kind of I was paying attention to the gap to Macca, so I did use a lot of fuel on the last lap because I thought he had a puncture, so I was catching up to him pretty quick. And then I just ran out of fuel pretty much. So yeah.
And then you saw Macca sideways on the racetrack.
Yeah.
I mean, I bet that would have been a sight.
Yeah, I got to the stadium section and I was like, oh, even if he has a puncture, I'm not going to get him. I need to be within 3 seconds. And then came around the last corner and I just see a slow Renault and I'm like, oh, what the hell? And I got on the racing line and he turned very sharply. He almost took me out. It's pretty close to take me out. It's a bit dirty, but no, it's okay. We got there in the end and got P2.
Second place. Well, your third second place in a row. You're setting yourself up fairly nicely here. If Amazing Hour makes a mistake, it seems like you're going to be the driver. They'll pounce all over it. So at the moment, mate, it's fantastic consistency from you once again. And maybe a bit of luck, but you can't help but get a little bit of luck every now and then. So congrats on the P2 and a nice recovery from what happened in qualifying as well, mate. Well done.
Thank you.
We'll move on to third place then. Macca, you there?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, we can hear you. Don't worry, we can hear you. Mate. Yeah, we can. Macca. No, bad Macca. That race for you went pretty damn okay all the way up till the end. Just take us through your race and qualifying here in Mexico City.
Qualifying actually wasn't too bad. I probably probably could have done a bit better on the qualifying, but to start P5 wasn't too bad. But yeah, no, the start was probably the best part of the race. Yeah, yeah, dropped to sixth slightly for a little bit, but then yeah, went around the outside of everyone through 1, 2, and 3, and got up to P3, and then because of Josh's drive through, that basically got me P2, and yeah, the pace was there. It was actually a really nice car to drive, but yeah, I don't. Yeah, it's the tire. The tires just like once they hit about 50-55%, like they'd start falling off a lot more severely than what they were previously, like laps before, and it was I think from about lap 26, 27, I realized I might not actually make it to the end on tires, so I had to start backing off, and that was when the gap was about like just over 3 seconds to Andrew. So I mean, the fact that I was sat within like 3-4 seconds for him for about 27 laps before the tires I felt like started falling off. It was good positive signs. But yeah. The end. Let's not talk about the end.
No, we need to talk about it, Maka, because it is an important moment in the race. Did you just lose it by yourself?
Oh no. So basically, come around the last corner, I've seen the second Red Bull of ACW parked on the parked in the middle of the track, and I don't know, man, on my screen it looked like he's rolled forward a little bit. So I've just squirted the throttle just a little bit just to get through, to make sure that that I didn't get caught up with him or anything, because I'd lost about maybe 5 seconds to Andrew. I'm not 5 seconds, 5 seconds to Aaron on that last lap, just because I was looking after the tires, because they were about 79% starting that last lap. So and Tao got a puncher about 76% on his first stint. So yeah, I was so cautious just to get to the end, but then I've come around the last corner, seen a Red Bull there, and I've basically swerved to avoid him and just touched the throttle just a little bit more than what I needed to, and the car's just gone on 85% worn tires. And I heard Aaron say he thought my swerve back on the track was a little bit dirty and a little bit aggressive. It might have been, yes, but I didn't realize he was as close as he was until he was there. So I was just kind of hoping to get back on the racing line, and maybe he brakes and swerves to avoid me, and I can somehow hold on to it. But yeah, the fact that I've basically running the best race I could for 35.9 laps, and then to lose it all on the last corner was frustrating. But it's good to see the when I can stay out of the shit at fucking lap 1, I can somewhat run with the front runners. So after the first 2 probably crap rounds, I'd say I finally got my championship underway. So on next week, and we'll hopefully keep the momentum rolling.
Yeah. Well, as some people say, people tend to learn more from their mistakes than from their successes. So I'm sure you'll come back next week bigger and better than ever. I'm sure if, as you say, qualifying goes your way, you're towards the front, that you're able to challenge for those podium places again, coming into next week at Zandvoort. So, mate, I wouldn't be too displeased. Yes, you lost out in second, but you still managed to hang on to a podium in very tricky conditions where everyone struggled and everyone has the potential to put it into a wall, and you still came out top 3. So, an excellent result for you, mate, and head up for next week for the Dutch Grand Prix. Well done, mate.
Cheers, mate. Hope the race wasn't too boring on your end, because it was certainly boring on my end, and a couple of drivers that I've spoken to as well have said the race was wasn't that enjoyable to race, just because once everyone had really spread out, it was just running around on your own.
There were some bits and bobs here and there that sort of upped the tempo up a little bit, but you kind of expect with weather racing that the intensity isn't quite there. You kind of need dry conditions in the virtual world in order to try and get some really good intense racing. But there were definitely bits and pieces in there that kept us awake and enjoying the race. But anyway, again, congrats, Maka, on the 3rd, and we'll see you next week at Zandvoort.
Oh, that's going to be worse than this week, honestly. Qualifying's going to be everything. It's going to be another hungry track where like qualifying's everything, and you can't overtake, and you'll be basically stuck outside of a second of the person in front of you every lap because the dirty air will just be absolute fucking bullshit.
Well, there's only one way to find out, I guess, and that will be next week. Alcatraz, anything to add on while we're still on the air?
I'll just say, just to Macca, just keep your head up. That was a really good race, and you didn't lose that too many spots just from the small error. Obviously, we don't know exactly what happened. We just saw a car the other way around, but there could have been complications to why the car was turned. But you only lost one position by a fraction, but you've really improved from the past 3 races. Obviously, some bad luck in round 1, so I think you've really got the chances like you ended season 1 in. It's going to be consistent podiums for you. I have that feeling. So keep your head up, man. It's coming. That P1's coming, but someone needs to drop Amazing Hour off.
Oh, mate, that man's bloody Zach on steroids, honestly. Zach needs to come back. Someone might actually be able to challenge him.
Maybe when Zach's got a bit of free time.
We all hope that as a viewer as well as people in the fantasy as well, because if he does come back, that's going to be a roller coaster for people's fantasies.
It is what it is at the moment, and we must respect that. So,
yes.
But anyway, I think that'll end it for this week. Move on.
Very much.
We haven't raced on in 4 decades.
Yeah, we are going for Masters in particular. We are going to the Dutch Grand Prix. We're going to the brand new circuit on the calendar, Zandvoort. So it's going to be an interesting race. Content wise, I have a feeling that it's just gonna be. I feel like overtaking wise is going to be quite difficult, but I have a feeling there's as well that the banking is going to show some interesting techers as well. Hopefully, drivers can make the most out of that.
Probably for the safest that we all just try and keep an open mind for Zandvoort. Because I think Macca might be right that it's going to be difficult to overtake, and qualifying is going to be important. But I don't know. I have a gut feeling about it. Just a gut feeling that something interesting might just happen. So, yeah, I'm going to keep an open mind for next week. I think it might be interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one for the ages. And blue is going to be the tier that's going to open it up and really show what the track can do for drivers. So stay tuned for that on Monday. Tomorrow at 10 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time will be purple, which is the US tier, at 8 p.m. Eastern, I believe. So I'll be doing commentary with probably Dougie Falcons if he's roaming around the Discord like he was the previous 2 weeks. And tomorrow is actually going to be a big day, I think, for me. I don't know if any other commentators are keen for what's going to be happening, but we have the purple race, and then later in the afternoon we're going to have our first Dynamic Nights Esports 100% race around Silverstone. So that is going to be a big time. It's only short qualifying. It's nothing too major, but it's a 100% race.
We've got the GT race after that, don't we?
And then there's the GT3 race. I can't remember at the Red Bull Ring.
2 rounds at Red Bull Ring. So
yeah,
that should be interesting as well, hopefully.
It's a big day for Dynamic Nights Esports for content-wise. Plenty of juicy action coming. But thank you all so much for watching. Thank you, Smeg, once again for taking the reins and absolutely showing why you are the best in the business for this type of stuff. But I've been DNE Alcatraz or Sportsbet. That has been the Smeg, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.